Nalila. Welcome to the meeting of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts of the Western Cape Provincial Legislature for purposes of dealing with items set out on the agenda, which among others will be getting a briefing from the Department of the Premier on the rollout of the broadband. But before we may start with our agenda, procedural officer, can I check, are there any apologies?
Good morning, Chairperson, members, guests. No Chairperson, there are no other apologies.
In the absence of apologies, honorable members, I'm going to allow and hand over to the Department of the Premier for purposes of conducting their presentation. And then whoever will be doing the presentation, or the DG, if he may just introduce the members that are accompanying him. Welcome, Premier. I see the Premier has also just joined us. We appreciate your presence. Can I hand over to the Department of the Premier?
Chair, good morning. I wonder if I can maybe ask the Premier, who's just joined us now, if there's anything he wants to say, and then I can immediately proceed after that.
Honorable Premier.
Sorry, good morning. I was having trouble with my sound. Morning, everybody.
Morning, Honorable Premier.
Morning, Premier.
Premier, is there anything you wanted to say?
Oh, sorry, I missed that because I had some problem with my sound. Yeah. I apologize. Thank you. Good morning, colleague. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Chair. Thank you very much. I think let's go straight into the presentation. The team has put a presentation together, and I think really that does answer the questions. Also, the questions the DG has sent in writing, the previous questions on some of these risk areas. But the presentation will answer it also. I think we should go maybe straight into that presentation.
Thank you very much, Premier. DG.
Honorable Mvumbi, good morning, and also good morning to all the members of the Provincial Parliament that's on this meeting, and then also to the team within the Department of the Premier. Chairperson, you've asked us to come and present to you the value of the broadband project for government. Now, I mean, I need to make a couple of points, and we have prepared a comprehensive presentation that will be done by Evan, who's responsible for this particular project. But maybe just to start off, as you're well aware, I mean, this is a 10-year arrangement. We are not the contracting party, but CETA is the contracting party. Obviously, the service provider is Liquid Neotel. So what we've done in the presentation is also to provide you with a value that we've been deriving from this engagement, also the number of sites that has been connected, and particularly what is the value that rolling out of the broadband project have brought to departments like education, but also the corporate Western Cape government as a corporation. So from my side, I can also indicate to the committee that we've got structured engagements with CETA. I mean, I had a couple of engagements already with the caretaker of CETA together with the CEO of Liquid Neotel, or the manager that's responsible for us. We do that at least on a quarterly basis. And we've also recently asked them to look at mechanism, given the changing environment within this space, which is ever changing, to look at mechanisms for us to potentially look at some of the deliverables. But I mean, that's not on the agenda today. So, Member Mvumbi, if you're okay with that, Chair, that I will hand straight over to Evan, which will then just take us through the broadband issues. We have sent the presentation, to the committee. So if somebody in the committee can put it up, or if Evan is going to put it up, then we can do that. Thank you, Chair.
Excellent, DG, no problem. Evan?
Thank you, Honorable Mvumbi. My apologies. I just want to get to the presentation.
Evan, we can see it.
Sorry, can you see my presentation?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
All right.
Just put it on slideshow, Evan.
I will do. There we go. All right. Okay.
That's it.
All right. Good morning, members. So I'll be doing a presentation on the value being added by the Western Cape Broadband Initiative. And I thought I'd start by sharing some market research regarding broadband with you. And this is from a webinar hosted by Wits University called, or was hosted by Wits University called Narrowing the Digital Divide, Available and Affordable Internet Access. And in the slide that you're looking at, or being shown to you now, there's information about the rural households with some form of internet beyond a cell phone. And this information has been segmented by province and household income. And we can see from the slide, if you look at the right-hand side where the Western Cape's information is being displayed, you will see in the Western Cape, which incidentally has the highest penetration, the penetration is only 12.5% for households earning less than 5,000 Rand per month. And it goes up, as to be expected, to 42% for households earning more than 20,000 Rand per month. And so the overall penetration for our province of internet, household internet in rural areas is approximately 21%. On this slide, you will see that the company BMIT also looked at the connectivity to public schools and found that the Western Cape had the highest penetration, reporting that 86% of the 1,449 schools in the province has been provided with broadband connectivity, which I can state is as a result of the province's broadband initiative, because these figures match our own reporting stats for broadband connectivity to schools. And then they had also discussed at this webinar the broadband objectives. And they had shared the following broadband objectives at the webinar. The first objective mentioned by them is service delivery, stating that broadband can improve the efficiency, cost, and reach of public sector services such as health and education. The second objective is that broadband is an enabler of e-business and new market opportunities, which would allow businesses to realize growth through productivity, increases stemming from improved information exchange, value chain transformation, and process efficiencies. The third objective being knowledge creation, and in this context, broadband can contribute to the improvement of skills of individuals by enabling online learning. And then the fourth objective and last objective that was mentioned is digital inclusion. Providing broadband access for everyone contributes to productivity, economic growth, and social inclusion. So that is just, if you like, gives you some context to what the market research is saying about the need for doing broadband. So now that I've shared with you what the market research is saying about broadband in our province and the country, and also about the objectives and motivation for doing broadband, I'd like to tell you about the WCG's broadband program. So I'll be sharing with you our goals, the value we have added to the lives of our citizens, and provide you with a progress report on how far we have rolled out broadband in the Western Cape. Right, so So our goals when we embarked on the broadband program. So we did this together with we got CETA to appoint a partner called Liquid Telecom South Africa, and we appointed them on a 10-year agreement to roll out broadband to our sites. And the sites in question are all of our sites, all our corporate sites, our schools, our health institutions, rural libraries. We've got Cape access centers, as well as some of our satellite administration offices. So the network that's being built is designed and built to carry data, voice, video traffic. And incidentally, this is the reason why we are able to do video conferencing calls between 2 or more of our sites. And this was something which was done regularly at the height of the coronavirus pandemic, when the Premier and some of his ministers had to communicate with officials at the Disaster Management Center in Tygerberg. So the network was the broadband network was very important and crucial to our operations at that point in time. This network, when we decided on this, and amongst our goals was that the network should also be capable of providing the public with internet access through Wi-Fi hotspots, and that they should work over the same infrastructure that we're building for our corporate access. And the last thing that we had looked at as part of our goals was to, once the network has been built and we've got this penetration, that it shouldn't only be for the Western Cape government's use, but that we should encourage CETA and Liquid Telecom to service the needs of other government entities through the network that's been built, as well as try and lower the cost of communications to businesses in the areas where Liquid Telecom would find themselves operating. All right, so now to get to the value add or the value that we've added with our broadband initiative. So one of our objectives when we started the broadband program back in 2014 was to contribute towards the reduction of the cost of communications. And so the cost efficiencies are actually being achieved through the economies of scale. So we have aggregated our requirements for network connectivity, and by doing so, we've been able to lower the cost of these services to the Western Cape government itself. And we've also in the process been able to assist municipalities with connectivity. We've added the central or main office in each of the local and district municipalities onto our site lists. And we are providing at this point in time connectivity, broadband connectivity to 22 of the 29 offices that we've identified for such connectivity. So there's definitely been benefits for them as well beyond us, also benefiting from the lower costs. Having an agreement in place as the one that we have with CETA and Liquid Telecom means that we now have, it's a lot easier for us to procure the services whenever the need arises. We no longer have to spend time trying to obtain quotations through CETA for connecting single sites whenever the need arises. So we're saving time and labor as well in that process. And as I've indicated a little earlier, the service provider would be able to on-sell broadband capacity and other services to businesses and citizens as well, based on the investment that we've made in the infrastructure. So, the graph that you're seeing at the bottom of that slide shows you how the cost of data has decreased from 2014 all the way down to where we are now. Now, we're not claiming that we are solely responsible for this, but we believe that our demand that we took to the market has resulted in additional infrastructure to be built, fiber infrastructure to be built across the province. Liquid Telecom has built national long-distance fiber networks along the N2 to connect all the sites that we have in the various towns on that route. They've done the same along the N1. And as what happens in the telecommunications game, whoever has infrastructure is able to lease it out to other service providers who need to provide connectivity in those areas as well. And so we've also, our demand has also added to the increase in infrastructure across the province, which should have led eventually to the decrease in data prices that we've seen happen over the last few years. And that just indicates to you that on average 1 gigabyte would have cost the user 189 Rand back in 2014, and that price has been reduced to 112 Rand. Okay, the second value add that we've achieved through broadband was to increase the broadband penetration, thereby reducing the digital divide. So we've managed to get infrastructure built out into rural areas across the province. We've got in total 25 broadband points of presence. 23 of them are in rural areas, and we've got the 2 major broadband points of presence in Cape Town and George. We call them super pops. And then we've got the 23 other locations all across the province. Towns like Vredendal, Saldanha, Piketberg, Riversdale, Bredasdorp. We've got broadband points of presence in all of them. As you can see from the map on the slide that shows you all the big blue dots are the locations where we have broadband points of presence, and then the lines, I don't know if that color is teal, but those are the connections out to the sites which are shown in yellow on that map. So we've really done quite a bit through this program to improve broadband penetration throughout the province. We've been able to use our demand and as an anchor tenant for the service provider to bring about the development of network infrastructure across the province and into towns, and in this way we've enabled, we believe, opportunities for our citizens, because we've, as I've mentioned before, we've also added free public Wi-Fi access points at the locations where we've deployed our broadband service. In fact, you'll see there's a speech bowl at the bottom of the slide, and this comes from a survey that was done by our sister department, the Department of Economic Development and Tourism, and they had spoken to a person by the name of Konwaba Kappa from Philippi, and she had used the Wi-Fi service in the area to search for jobs online, and she was able to submit her application online for a teacher's assistant post, and fortunately she was successful in her application. So she's had a very happy experience from being able to make use of the free public Wi-Fi service that we've deployed through this program as well. All right, then our third objective, was to improve government service delivery. And the thinking here is that, greater speeds allow for more efficient use of information and applications. And we know that, at hospitals, for instance, when they are dealing with patient registrations. The quicker they can record this information, the faster they can reduce the length of the queues. So having broadband does help to transform your business operations and to make it more efficient. Broadband also underpins the transformation to a digital workplace, our digital government strategies, our e-visions, the health applications, as I've mentioned, are dependent on it. E-learning requires broadband. Our move to cloud-hosted services require broadband connectivity from our sites, and yeah, in this way, we can also enable remote working through the use of broadband. So as I've mentioned, yeah, so broadband is the foundation for the WCD's entire e-learning initiative. There are examples in the Department of Health where broadband has allowed them to roll out some of the systems that they use, such as the electronic continuity of care record system, which basically allows a patient record to follow the patient to any institution without a physical file needed to be transferred from one institution to another, because all of it is now electronic. So if the clinic the person is visiting is on broadband and can access the system, then it assists the management of the patient in this case, and it helps to transform the way they do their operations. And of course, the picture archiving and communication system, which is a radiology information system. This basically allows the Department of Health to make use of this digital X-ray system, and they can, send images to specialists anywhere in the world, and so it has assisted them to achieve that as well. I've got a speech bubble there for you, which is feedback from one of the doctors, Dr. Musa Parak, who's the head of emergency centers for Mitchells Plain and Heideveld Clinic, Mitchellstone Hospital and Heideveld Clinic. And he has said that our dependence on access to our systems is critical. When we lose connectivity, the disruptions lead to service chaos. This is to the detriment of staff and patients alike, especially after hours when emergency services are at a peak. So stable and fast broadband services is absolutely essential to improving service delivery. All right, so I think I've essentially spoken to the reason or the purpose for the presentation, and that is to tell you what value broadband has added. But what I thought I'd do as well for you is to give you an update on the progress of our broadband program, how far we are with our rollouts, so our broadband program is divided into three phases. In phase one, which started in 2014, we had connected at that stage 1,875 sites to at minimum network speeds of 10 megabits per second. And in phase two, which started in 2017, we then started upgrading those sites which we connected in phase one to minimum network speeds of 100 megabits per second. And then in phase three, which will start in October 2022, we will upgrade these network speeds even further. And the minimum at that point will be 1 gigabits per second. So this table just shows you what we've done so far, and you'll see that over 60% of our sites have been upgraded to network speeds of 100 megabits per second and higher. The sites that are still on 10 megabits per second, they will be upgraded to 100 megabits per second over the next year and a half or so. And then we should have super high speeds across the network. Right. So as I mentioned, we had used our broadband infrastructure to provide services to citizens as well. And so the second initiative, in addition to the main broadband program that we're running, is the free public Wi-Fi hotspot initiative. And we are intending to connect at least 1,600 of our sites, or to provide free public Wi-Fi service at up to, or at least 1,600 of our sites. To date, we have 967 of these active already. And we will be, by the end of this financial year, we should have another 140 on top of that. So we should be at approximately 1,100 sites at which citizens can access free public Wi-Fi services. So the service that they receive is they get 3 gigabytes of free data per device. So if you have more than one cell phone or tablet that you can use on each one of those devices, which will be registered for use when you are within range of a Wi-Fi hotspot, you will get 3 gigabytes for your use. So some people have more than the 3 gigabytes, depending on the number of devices that they use. And we're deploying these, as I said, at our sites. They are mainly at schools. So of the 1,600 that we've identified so far, 1,056 are schools at which we'll be rolling it out, and 544 other sites, which includes health facilities, corporate sites, and libraries. Again, and here, this is just a map that is available to you as well. I'll show you that a little later. It is available at our websites, westerncape.gov.za/Wi-Fi. That shows you where we've deployed the Wi-Fi service. And on this slide, we are showing you the uptake of the Wi-Fi service and how popular it has been with our citizens. In August, we had 192,000 new, it says new users, but it should actually be new devices, because as I indicated, your user can have more than one device. During August, so last 2 months ago, we had that many people registering, and the month before that even more, as you can see on that graph. And so since the start of the project, we've had 1.88 million devices registering for use on our Wi-Fi service that we're providing. At the bottom of the graph, we are also indicating the amount of data that's been used. And in August, approximately 189 terabytes of data was consumed. So that's 189 million megabytes for us who normally work in megabytes that's been consumed. And so if we use the calculation that a gigabyte would cost you about 100 Rand to purchase commercially, if this were to be purchased from a commercial provider, that amount of data, it would cost 19 million Rand. So that's quite a saving. I assume our citizens would not have used that much if they had to pay for it themselves, but it gives you an indication of the amount of data they've used and the possible cost savings in this case. I've come to the end of the presentation, Chair. I did say that I wanted to perhaps just show you the websites where the Wi-Fi data can be found. If you'd like me to do that, I could do that very quickly.
Even don't you just want to go there quickly? I mean, if it's not going to take you lots of time, so then your presentation is complete.
Sure. Let me just pull it up. Here we go. Just tell me if you can see that.
Not.
We can see it.
You've got it.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. So this is on our westerncape.gov.za webpage /Wi-Fi. You'll find it there. And what we're displaying here for you is if I click on, it shows you the 967 Wi-Fi hotspots that we've already activated. If I click on that down arrow, it will pull up each one of these 967 hotspots, so you can find, if you like, the ones that you'd be interested in on this list. I'm just going to close that window quickly. You can go onto the map as well, and then you can click on any one of these blue dots that you see here, and it will tell you, give you the name of the hotspot, where it's located. I can zoom in and so you can look more closely at a particular area and to see what we have there. So depending on the municipality that you're interested in, you can find that information here, and it's open to everyone to go and view. And again, as I said, if you click on any of these blue dots, you'll find the information there.
And then,
Chair.
sorry, can you go to Naisna?
I think I'm going to. I've got my colleague Mark Kluter here who's responsible for the Wi-Fi project here. But you see, as you can see, I'm trying to track my way across there. There's Oudtshoorn as well. There's a whole lot there. Sorry. Oh, there we go. There's Naisna. Okay. So there's Hornley Library has a Wi-Fi hotspot. Percy Madala High School, we've put on a Wi-Fi hotspot for the public to use. Maybe I should just zoom in a little further. Chair, you can just tell me if
No, that's fine.
sufficient.
Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I've got
Chair, I'm
vested
open for questions now. Yeah.
That's it, Chair.
There it is, honorable members. Can I have an indication of those members who would like to ask questions? I see Honorable America, Honorable Bartman, Honorable Maseko, and Honorable Kleko. Can we do it in that order?
Ask Mark to come here.
Honorable America.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Alexander, for the presentation. I think it was fairly insightful. I didn't know anything about this particular project, and now I know a little. I think, Chair, this is a good news story, although by no means we have completed the journey, but if one look at the impact it has on society, and in terms of the benefits our people derive from it, certainly we need to amplify this particular story so that more people know about it. That's a remark. Questions that I would like to ask, Chair, is that on slide 2, it was presented the number of sites that we have and how far our penetration ought to go. And that is now slide 2. Let me just go there quickly. But in terms of our, where we go, yeah. In terms of our teaching and learning, we have total number of schools in particular. I would like to refer to 1,449, and number of internet for teaching and learning, it's 1,251, and for administration, 1,281. Although there's not much of a difference in terms of shortfall in terms of the number of schools. The question I'd like to ask in terms of, with those 198 and 169 schools may not have access to the resource. What are the reasons for that? Is it because of the phases of the rollout that we have not gotten there yet, but we will eventually reach them? And secondly, Chair, in terms of our SMMEs, to what degree have we, there's a corporate leg to this infrastructure rollout, to what extent, do they benefit from access to our infrastructure? Thirdly, Chair, is that I know that the City of Cape Town also has an infrastructure rollout program that started many years ago. Does our infrastructure complement the city's infrastructure? And furthermore, what other collaborations we may have to other municipalities in the province, particularly those larger ones that could also, that may also, consider building their own infrastructure. With regard to hotspots, I know the Deep South, with its unique topography, that having physical infrastructure sometimes is expensive and it's a challenge. I don't see that there are a generous allocation of hotspots to the Deep South, and is there a particular reason for that? And furthermore, Chair, and in terms of the risk to the infrastructure, what exists there that may retard the physical security of our infrastructure, or the retardation possibly of the completion of the program in full? And furthermore, our collaboration with private sector players in the market, is there any, and if so, what kind of cooperation exists? And if such a cooperation does exist, who is owning the infrastructure? And lastly, Chair, the 3 gigabytes per device that's allocated to users that are registered, what's the duration for that sort of allocation? Is it for a year, or for 6 months, or for 3 months? And that's it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable America. Honorable Partner.
Thank you, Chairperson. And firstly, I would just like to say congratulations to the Department of the Premier and to the Premier for the wonderful work they're doing in terms of the broadband program. And I also would like to say thank you to the Office of the Premier for the recent Wi-Fi connection that they installed at the Laingsburg High School as well as the Kasha Primary School. And the Wi-Fi connection indeed will have the 3 GB per device per month for free, because I personally was there when they was busy installing the one at the primary school, and I went to inspect the whole computer room at the high school, and I counted the printers, I counted the computers, I counted everything so that we can know how much we have in terms of infrastructure. My question, Chairperson, is when we went to go count the respective infrastructure, we also found, for example, at the high school, there were tablets that were donated from MTN at the high school. And what we did is, with the assistance of some of the colleagues from the Cape Access Center in Laingsburg, we checked it, we logged onto the Google Play Store, we tested it by downloading Skype and logging in, and then deleted all that particular details afterwards to see whether they were working. And they are, but similar in terms of the MTN tablets, similar to the hardware and equipment that comes from the Department of the Premier and the Department of Education, most of the software needs to be updated. So you can still use many of the hardware, but the software needs updating. And since there is a Cape Access office in Laingsburg that is already actually doing very well when you look at the foot traffic, statistics, would it be possible for the Department of the Premier, instead of every time sending persons from the Office of the Premier from Cape Town to the offices in Laingsburg when something needs to be installed or updated or fixed, is it not possible for us to authorize that the local office, the local Cape Access office, gets permission to do the respective software updates, to do the quick fixes, to do the things like the virus installations? And then my second question is, the tourism chair of Prince Albert, and that they have a tourism chair because they don't have a general business chamber. She approached me to inquire about the program of fiber rollout in Prince Albert. And I must admit, I'm not aware of the program or have the details of the program, but I wanted to find out whether there is such a program in Prince Albert, the rollout of fiber, and if so, in what stage is the program? And if there isn't a program at the moment, whether the Office of the Premier would consider possibly investigating whether one could roll it out, because apparently APSA, which is a private company, when they were installing fiber for their company, they ensured that there were points on their fiber so that if anyone ever wanted to expand on the particular fiber, that they could continue with such a project. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks, Advocate. I think was Honorable Maseko's hand not up?
It was up, Chair. After you mentioned my name, I dropped it.
Yes, it's your turn.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair, and again for the Department of Premier and Premier. Thank you, and also I can't emphasize enough of the other members in congratulating the department with this rollout. Just one thing, because the other members have covered me, one thing that I want to hear from the department, I think the last term, I think it was 2015, the connected sites for the schools and the clinics, libraries, hospitals, we had about 925. I think it was, we got the presentation when I checked on my notes, it was around February. And after that, throughout the years 2019, just to make an example, we had a school, a high school in Robertson that also had a connectivity, but the students couldn't use that. And one of the challenges was the teachers indicated the misuse and the challenge of the computer sometimes being stolen without them understanding what is it that is happening. But from the other side of it in the same town, now I'm just taking one town so that I can maybe understand the challenges of how it should be dealt with in those scenarios. The other side was that the students had to move from school to go to the libraries to try to get that connectivity. Now, if we get the report of the connectivity from the department, are you counting what you implemented and not what is being used? Or are you counting what is being used as of yesterday? I think that's all that I will ask for now, Chair, and then after the response, I'll appreciate to get another bite of questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Kaiko.
Thanks, Chair. From my side, the project itself is a very beautiful one, and it is indeed reaching out at the rural. But the only challenge that I'm having is a pace of which the rural people are being connected. Areas such as Canaland, and as well as the likes of Lensberg, as it was raised by Honorable Bartman. But the other thing that I wanted to check is the triple BE status of this particular project, if it is compliant, because we always know that in the Western Cape, in anything that we're doing, when it comes to triple BE, we are not compliant. So how, in terms of using of service providers, and then as well as, that are involved in projects, if we can be able to get clarity, and who are those maybe service providers, if we can be able to know them.
You find Honorable Kako? You're breaking up?
Yes, sir. I'm done.
Are you done? Okay. Honorable Nkonjo. Honorable Nkonjo. Honorable Nkonjo. I think we might have Miss Honorable Nkonjo. Honorable Maseko, is your hand up again? Oh, okay. Now, can I get a response? Once we got Honorable Nkonjo back, we will allow her the opportunity.
Okay. Chair.
Yeah, sorry, Chair.
Is Honorable Maseko?
I just wanted to throw the last one. I think I missed one question that I wrote on. Maybe we can get the benchmarking, the synopsis of the benchmarking and the monitoring of the rollout. How is it going since the implementation? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Nkonjo, are you back? Okay. DG?
Chair, no, thank you very much for the questions. And to all the members that have raised the questions, I'm going to just ask Andre if there's anything that he would like to say from his side before I'll hand over to Evan. Bar to say that, Chair, from a governance perspective, okay, we are monitoring the rollout of this project almost on a day-to-day basis, because remember, the rollout of the project is dependent on what we pay, particularly through the SETA environment, and then obviously, you know, if the monitoring or if the rollout is not taking place in the way it should, obviously this the company would actually feel it on their side. And as I've also indicated, we've got you know, our meetings at my level, together with the executives of SETA as well as Liquid Neotel, where we actually monitor from an oversight perspective what is happening to this project. I mean, this is one of the biggest projects in this department and also in government. So just before I hand over to Andre, maybe to respond to one or two of the stuff, also just to note, Chair, I want to re-emphasize that SETA is the contracting party. And I mean, all the supply chain matters in relation to contracting, you know, obviously sits within the SETA space, but we've been very, very active obviously in the initial conceptualization, also putting together the bid documents and also all the agreements and stuff. And I mean, all of that was done, within the framework of the relative supply chain management legislation, which include obviously BE, etc. Andre, is there anything that you maybe want to say? And then I will ask Evan to deal with the questions raised by Member America, Advocate Bartman, Member Advocate Bartman, and then also by Member Machego, and then by Member Kego. Andre?
Thanks, DG. Good morning, Chairperson and members. DG, not much to add to what Evan has done a good job in terms of presenting the value add. I think, DG, we must also just make the point that broadband is a core enabler for not only that which Evan has pointed out, but it is a core enabler for many other applications. And I think at this point, our emphasis is shifting to providing citizen-facing application and including mobile and other systems. But that is what is possible through the enablement facility that broadband provides in our space. And I think we will, at some or other point, probably have the opportunity to share with the committee what our digital transformation plan and our digital government strategy is about. And we would have not have had such a aspirational strategy and plan if it were not for the enablement capabilities of broadband and such connectivity. Thanks, DG, and thanks, Chairperson.
Evan, can I hand over to you to respond to the particular questions?
Yes, DG, I've made a note of them, so I'll respond to them. So Honorable America, I've still got the slide up that I think you were referring to when you asked about the difference in the total number of schools against the numbers being shown for the Internet for Teaching and Learning and Internet for Admin. So this is obviously, this is not our table, but I can explain what I understand from this. So what they are saying is that there are 1,280 schools that are connected. And amongst those that have been connected, 1,251 of those connections would probably be available to the learners and the teachers in computer labs, or probably just at the admin building. So sometimes when a service is installed, the school only makes use of it at the admin building. But what we have been doing through our program is to connect any existing infrastructure that we find at the school. So if there's a computer lab, we connect that up to the broadband. But if there isn't, then it can't be connected. So the difference in what you're seeing over there, my understanding is, looking at that, is that the 1,251 is part of the 1,280. And as I said, it matches our broadband figure for number of schools we provided broadband to. So if I compare that to the total number of schools, then 1,449. So we had received, at the start of our project, we had received a list of schools from our education department, which they wanted us to connect. They had signed off on their list and they provided that to us, and this is what we included in the project. I think at that stage, they probably did not consider all of the schools feasible at that point in time. I think they had possibly looked at some of the schools on the list and thought that not all of them are necessarily feasible in the long term. And this is why they gave us the most feasible list of schools, which was the majority of the schools, and this is how we ended up with that. If you're happy with that, then I can move on to your next question.
It does.
Evan, can you maybe respond to all the questions, and then we'll come back, I'm sure, for a second round.
Okay. All right, no problem. We'll do. Okay, so you then also spoke about the City of Cape Town and the infrastructure that they have, and you asked the question whether their infrastructure complements ours and what sort of collaboration we're doing with them. So yes, indeed, we are in fact making use of the city's broadband infrastructure at some of our sites as well. Specifically at our hospitals, our critical hospitals, we have the city's broadband link is a backup link to the serves as a backup link to the primary broadband link we've got at the site. And so we are making use of their infrastructure as well, but we are obtaining all of this through CETA. So CETA and Liquid Telecom have an agreement with the City of Cape Town for the infrastructure. And so that's actually quite a good thing for the city, I think, because they've also made an investment in building a fiber network. So we are where it's close enough to our sites and where it's available and where it meets our business need and can add value. We've been using their infrastructure as well. In terms of collaboration that you asked about with the City of Cape Town, so the City of Cape Town also has a free public Wi-Fi service. I think it's called Smart Cape, if I'm not mistaken. And so we obviously try, and look at where they're deploying to decide, which of our sites would be appropriate for this type of service, so that we don't, try and deliver the service in the same area, which shouldn't happen because our sites are kind of distinct from theirs. But there have been discussions with the city, and there has been collaborations. Our colleague, our SG, Mr. Andre Jumat, he has been chairing a forum to discuss some of these issues, and perhaps he might like to add to that as well. And moving on to your questions around the hotspots, you had indicated that there's not a generous allocation, I think, in the Southern Cape. So that might be for one of two reasons. It might be that we still have to build out fiber infrastructure to some of those sites. In order for us to deliver free public Wi-Fi services at the site, we need connectivity speeds of at least 100 megabits per second, which requires the connectivity technology that can support that. So you need fiber as opposed to a wireless link at the site. So as you can see, some of our sites are still on 10 megabits per second, and so that could be one of the reasons for that. But I think we should also note that I suppose some of the areas along the Garden route don't have that many sites. We don't have that many sites, and we can only deploy the Wi-Fi service where we have a site connected to broadband. So that could be the other reason. I think I understood that you had a question on what could impact on our rollout if there's security concerns, etc. So we have had incidents, security problems in certain areas in the Cape, where the teams going out from Liquid Telecom or their contractors going out to install fiber in certain areas have suffered theft. There's been I know of at least one incident where they were held up at gunpoint. We've also had issues of vandalism in the Mitchells Plain area, and that has impacted upon the program. And when that happens, either you're slowing down your rollout, or where you've already installed, in the case where it's vandalized, it kind of means that some of the sites that you've already connected now sit without service. So you also asked about who owns the infrastructure. So I think our DG, Dr. Malila, indicated that we are paying for a service. We don't own the infrastructure. So the infrastructure belongs to Liquid Telecom, the transmission infrastructure, and then CETA also has some infrastructure which they install at our sites, but it's largely owned by Liquid Telecom. And your question around the 3 gigabytes, it's per month. There is currently a promotion that we are running for our users where they can get up to, for the citizens, where they're currently able to use up to 6 gigabytes at the moment. So they actually have double that at the moment. We don't know how long Liquid Telecom are going to make the additional 3 gigabytes available, but users right now are able to get up to 6 gigabytes, and it's per month. Then going on to the question from Honorable Bartman, and I think the question then was around the fiber rollout in the Prince Albert area. So yeah, the rollout in some of the rural areas have been a little slow, the fiber rollout. I think it has something to do with the way Liquid Telecom run their business case. So for them, cost and time to connectivity is important. So if our sites are located close to where they already have existing infrastructure, the cost of connecting that site to their infrastructure and the time that will take, benefits their business case. So they've sort of planned the rollouts in such a way so that they can, earn revenues, I suppose, as quickly as possible in order to make this business case work for them. But we should see, as I indicated, by September 2022, we should have all our areas covered in either fiber or really high-speed wireless. So we've got, most of the sites connected on wireless already, but it might not be operating at 100 megabits per second. It's probably still operating at the lowest speed of 10 in the rural areas. But we are busy transforming that and getting more and more fiber into these places. So that could be the reason for that, Honorable Bartman. Honorable Maseko, so your question was, are we counting what we've delivered, or are we counting what is being used? In other words, how are we reporting on our rollout? So we are definitely counting on what we've rolled out. Those are the stats that I've given you. But I've got to also indicate to you that the Western Cape Education Department, because I think your question was in relation to a school in Robertson. The Western Cape Education Department have what they call a school local area network project that they're running as well, where they go into the schools and install networking infrastructure inside the school, Wi-Fi hotspots, etc., to try and ensure that broadband is extended to as many users, namely learners and teachers, at these schools. So that is a program that's also being run. So while I am counting in the report that I've given you what's been delivered, in many cases it's being used as well, because we are seeing in our internet usage for schools, we are seeing that it's extremely high. So,
I don't know whether is it from my side only, honorable members. Do you experience that we keep losing you? There seems to be some network problems from your side.
Yeah,
Can you continue? Can you continue?
Okay, can I just get? Okay, I will. I hope.
I can hear you.
I hope I've been. Can you hear me? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the last question then, as I have it, was from Honorable Tego, and I think it was a question in relation to the BE status and whether we are compliant. I believe our DG has addressed that question. I don't know if you just want to, again, DG, say something about that. But yeah, so Chair, I hope I've answered all the questions.
Okay. I think I've responded to that, Evan, in my response. Chair, so can we hand over to you, back to you, Chair? Honorable Mvumbi, you're on mute.
DG? Yes, yeah, I'm unmuted now. So are you fine from your side? Were you going to do any additions? DG?
No, Chair, I'm not going to do any additions. I think we've responded to all the questions that's been raised by the 5 members.
I just wanted, or I was just going to give Honorable Nkondlo. Honorable Nkondlo. There seems to be a problem. I just wanted to check also the issue of oh, Honorable Nkondlo.
Yes, Chair.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yes.
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 So I think some of my questions have been that I had have been answered, but I just wanted to understand two things when I look at that. There is a slide which demonstrates there is a slide that demonstrates the presence of the Wi-Fi spots, and I see that in the main, it's most schools in the city of Cape Town. And I would like just to be clarified in terms of spread, especially in non-metro schools, and whether the number that is the 1.2 is actually how far is it in terms of the total number of public schools in the province. And secondly, I wanted to understand what is the broadband strength, what's the broadband strength, in these various areas, because sometimes, you may have Wi-Fi spots and people have always had challenges in some areas because of weak broadband infrastructure. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, I hope they were able to capture you properly, because you kept on breaking up, but I think your question was around the issue of the number of schools that have been covered, especially in the non-metro area. And I think your second question, I hope they've captured that. Then I just wanted to, from my side, just one question almost related to Honorable Bartman's question around the issue of the fiber. Now I see, especially if I drive from Bito right up to Cape Town, there are fiber installation that are happening along the N2. Is this related to this broadband project? And then maybe what is the relationship of the province with this service provider, and then also with the municipalities that these broadbands run through? I just wanted to ask that question from my side. I see Honorable Bartman, your hand is up again.
Thank you, Chair. I thank the department obviously for the answer that I've received regarding Prince Albert, and I'll continue to engage the department more regarding the specifics. But I'm not sure, but I don't think my second question regarding authorization of upgrading of software on a local level was dealt with. So this is basically, you have people from Cape Town that come out all the way when you have to upgrade software, and Laingsburg is 3.5 hours away, and that's on a good day. So you have a Cape Access Center in Laingsburg with people that work for the Department of the Premier, and upgrading is done through the Department of the Premier. So I want to know is it not possible to authorize some of the people on the ground with the skills to do the upgrading of the software instead of each time sending someone from Cape Town that's essentially 3.5 hours away? Thank you.
Is DG? I see
Chair, we
just hang on before you respond. I see there seem to be quite a number of follow-up hands. I see Honorable America and Honorable Kleko in that order. Honorable America.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Chair. Thank you so much. I think that Ms. Alexander answered my questions completely, bar one. in a sense that I appreciate his explanation regarding the garden route or the Southern Cape, but my question specifically referred to the deep south, that is the Simonstown area, and maybe you could just respond to that, or perhaps it is the same kind of challenges that they experience in terms of the Southern Cape, or does the city's infrastructure adequately serve that particular area? Because my recollection is at the time when I was at the city, they also had sort of infrastructure rollout difficulties in that area as a result of its unique topology. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Kego.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think the DG didn't answer satisfactorily to the question around the triple B that I've asked. Understandably so, that in terms of procurement and other related issues, the department is not ultimately responsible for that. But a project that is carried by the department for a period of 10 years, then there is no satisfactory response as to whoever is doing it. It's not necessarily the department that has got to account in terms of triple PE, but are they satisfied with how the SETA is dealing with triple PE related issues, so that we would know that? Because to wash your hands and say, like Pontius Pilate, and say, no, I'm not involved, it's somebody else who's involved. Is the involvement of the SETA satisfactory to you as a department as far as PPE is concerned? Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG.
Chair, I'll come back to the yes, no, thank you for the questions and as well as the follow-up questions. I'll come back to the question of Member Kejo and maybe give a little bit more detail to that. But I'm going to just ask Evan, I think, just to deal with some of the stuff. Obviously, Chair, in relation to the rollout of broadband in terms of the number of schools, I actually think it's easier if we just apply to the committee with a list of the schools where it's been rolled out in relation to the total, because then, I mean, if you want to zoom into any particular area, like where you zoomed in when we started the meeting, the members would actually have that information at hand. And then what we can also do in addition to that, and I'll also submit that formally to the committee, is also obviously the further rollout plans and what are we doing in relation to that. So I'm going to just ask Evan to respond to the other stuff. Obviously, the question that's been raised by Member Bartman. I mean, when we were in Prince Albert, something like 2 weeks ago, I also visited, you know, our own access center, and have more or less also asked the same kind of questions, because I mean, those staff, you know, are employed by ourselves, and to what extent can we even use, you know, some of the connectivity that we've got there to actually make it available, you know, to the broader community, particularly within the Prince Albert area. Also being mindful that Prince Albert basically sits in the middle between Laingsburg and Oudtshoorn, and I mean also the cost to actually take the fiber, and also the issue of speed into that area. And I think where Ms. Bartman is also correct is that we've got these Cape Access Centers in many of the outlying areas, and they provide a very good base for the communities to go to either do business or to actually you know, engage with the broader community outside of just a Prince Albert or of a Laingsburg. So they bring lots of value to a particular community. And in fact, when I was in Prince Albert, I've also connected with one of the trusts there that are running, you know, massive community projects. And the same question came up to say to what extent can they draw on some of the capacity that we've actually got in that particular space. So it is something, Member Bartman, that we will be looking at, and the particular issue around capacitating people from that area to make the necessary upgrades, etc., is something that we will also explore, but also being mindful, that we've got the necessary controls and stuff in place from the center rather than driving up and down. So it's basically about, do we have the capacity to create technical capacity in those respective areas. Can I just check quickly, Andre? I don't know if there's anything that you want to say. Otherwise, I'm just going to give straight over to Evan.
Thank you, DG. So Member Nkondlo had a question around whether our broadband technology in certain areas is good enough to support the Wi-Fi service, because I think he was concerned about some of the signal being weak in some areas. So what we've done with the Wi-Fi service is to only provide it at sites where we are able to provide connectivity to the site of at least 100 megabits per second. So it's basically one of what we call a phase 2 broadband site. So it runs at a higher speed. And at those sites, we can then provide, and normally these sites are connected with fiber, and we will then deploy the Wi-Fi hotspot there. And generally speaking, the test that we've done shows that the service works quite well. Member Nkondlo. So I think I'm happy to say that shouldn't be a problem. And then Honourable Mvimbi, you asked about the work happening along the N2. So I know that Liquid Telecom are busy with a number of national long distance fiber projects along the N2. And I think they divide them up into sections. I think between Cape Town and Mossel Bay, that's one of their NLD or long distance projects. And then from there up along the N2 to the next major town, all the way up into the Eastern Cape, Port Elizabeth, and then all the way up. So they are working along that route, installing the fiber. So it could very well be them, but I don't know whether it is them. I can't answer with any certainty, but I know they are also, working on the national long distance fiber installations. And you wanted to know about the relationship to municipalities. So when Liquid Telecom move into the town, when they start installing fiber to our sites in the town, they need to apply for a way leave, a right of way to do that. And so they have to engage municipalities, and sometimes they wouldn't ask us to assist if a way leave approval is taking too long, or there's a problem. And we then also work with the municipality to find out what else we need to do to meet the requirements that they might have, and we're often able to resolve it in that way. So there has been quite a bit of interworking between the governments, intergovernmental cooperation, I'd say, between ourselves and municipalities where we meet with these challenges. Honourable Bartman, yes, I think DG has answered you. And my apologies for not having answered the second question you had. I will speak to my CIO, Hilton Arendse, who couldn't be in this meeting today. And we will take up the issue that you've raised and the possible solution you've proposed to see if we can implement it that way. Now, thanks for that suggestion. I think it does make sense. And then Honourable America, the Simonstown area, we are planning to deploy two. We've got two sites out there. We are planning to deploy 2 Wi-Fi hotspots in the Simonstown area. I just want to check with my colleague quickly, Mark. Do you know? Oh, yes. Okay, so Simonstown School and the museum. we'll be providing. So I think the museum is in the center of town, so I think there will definitely be public in the vicinity of that area that will be able to use that service. So that is coming, but again, we don't really have many sites out in Simonstown. So this is all a function of how many sites we have and where we can deploy it. And then DG, I think you said would you be addressing Honourable Cheho's question relating to triple BEE?
Yeah, Chair. I will definitely respond to that. Member Cheho, I mean, I understand the issue around the triple B double E compliance, but the point that I also need to make is that we are not the contracting party. We're buying a service via CETA. So CETA is doing all the contracting arrangements, and I mean CETA is an institution of the state that needs to comply with all the requirements around triple B double E. So we take it also that they're doing the necessary oversight in relation to that. And I also know, when they do the rollout, I'm talking about Liquid Neotel, particularly, they also look at the number of people that is available locally to do certain things and to actually assist with the particular rollout. I mean, we know that triple B double E is a requirement of the legislation, and I mean, I'm definitely know that CETA would be looking into those kind of things. From a service delivery perspective, I mean, we check the compliance of Liquid Neotel to the agreement in terms of the rollout, and we've got the necessary governance structures in place, as I've indicated, in relation to that. But the contracting party to this contract is CETA. So it's basically between CETA and Liquid Neotel, because we're buying a service. Chair, I hope that kind of responds to all the issues that we've raised.
Thank you very much, DG. I think that's very much covered actually most of the questions, and I don't think there are any further questions from members. Before I may actually allow you to recuse and your delegation, Honorable Premier, is there any comments that you'd like to make?
Thank you. I just wanted to add to the DG's comment now. I quickly just Googled Liquid Telecom. This is for the Honorable Plecho. It says level 3, 51% black owned, but it's much more complex than that, because I also see that that's Liquid Telecom, then they're owned by Neotel, and then there's other companies within companies. So it probably is a bit more detailed than a Google search, but I'm sure the Honorable Plecho can also check that out if he wants to get further or more in-depth detail of the ownership of the company. But obviously, I mean, we've been speaking about this for years, that it was whether we were able to procure it ourselves, and we weren't. We had to go through the CETA. We were always asking why Gauteng could do it directly and we couldn't. But I mean, that we chose the path because it's the right path to do. And despite its difficulties, we've now got it. And I mean, you can see the results and an enabling environment, which is, I mean, making a big difference in people's lives and will continue to over the next few years.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier and DG and the delegation. We always value your presence in these meetings. It also shows that how you take accountability in general and to this committee in particular serious. And I must actually mention that to the members that there were difficulties in the Department of the Premier, especially the Premier and the DG attending. But then they requested that because they were not going to be able to make it due to some prior commitments at the 9 o'clock meeting, it was at their request that we said that we can start the meeting at 10 so that we can accommodate their availability. We value that very much. It's actually just an indication that you also take this committee very serious and therefore accountability is serious. Thank you very much. You can be excused. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you,
Chair.
Thank you,
All right.
Chair.
Thanks. Honorable members, I think now if we go to our next item on the agenda, it's supposed to be us looking, I think, on Mr. Procedural Officer, I think the next item will be the
minutes, Chairperson.
But I think maybe before we deal with the minutes, can we just, for the benefit of members, you will see there has been communication that has also been sent to you that relates to the issue of APEC, that is the Association of Public Accounts Committee, where we needed to actually identify 2 members in terms of, I think the procedural officer has also submitted a procedural advice regarding the matter, where there is going to be a meeting that is scheduled towards the end of the month for the 26th and the 27th of October, at which we need to identify 2 delegates. Now, in terms of that, the constitution of APEC, we need to identify those delegates. I don't know whether maybe if members we can choose that we can do it, but because we can't do it on the meeting of the 16th, because our next meeting is going to be on the 16th. We'll probably have to do it at this meeting, or members can just take cognizance of that and maybe submit the names of those members. And then I think maybe for the benefit of the members, maybe procedural officer, you just don't want to quickly touch on that item?
Yes, Chairperson. So the Association of Public Accounts Committees, they would like us to forward them the names of the 2 members that that the committee has nominated and agreed on, Chair, to actually serve on the Council of Delegate structure at APEC nationally, Chairperson. Chair, okay, so basically, Chairperson, I have emailed all of the members the APEC Constitution, and the letter that they sent also, I think it was 2 days ago, indicates that it's yourself that is on by default as a chairperson on the APEC chair, and then as well as 2 members. So section 13, 1C, and you can see it there as Lizetti's bring it down just there. It says 2 members of each Public Accounts Committee that is a member, of which 1 must be a member of the largest party in the legislature, other than the party to which the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee belong, Chairperson. So 1 must be 1 member that we're going to nominate must be a member of the largest party within the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I see Honorable Seko's hand is up.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just to get the clarity, you know, this English sometimes. On the communication of the APEC, when they say 2 members of each Public Accounts Committee, that is a member, of which 1 must be a member from the largest party in the legislature, other than the party to which the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee belongs. Are they sort of talking based on thinking that the chairperson belongs to the majority party? Or what is the interpretation, Dustin? I just wanted to get the clarity of that.
Yeah, remember, if you look at the standard practice of Public Accounts Committee chairpersonship, especially at WCPP and at National Parliament, it's normally it's normally a member, or the chairperson is a member of the opposition of the majority party member. So that is written with that intention in mind, because unfortunately for the other legislatures, you have the ruling parties that have like Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal and all the rest. They have they have the ruling parties that actually are the chairpersons. But for the Western Cape and for National Parliament, and the intent of how this has been written, member, my advice is that for the chairperson then being not a member of the ruling party of the legislature.
Okay, Chair, can I come in?
Yes, Honorable Maseko.
Okay, thank you very much. Now it's clear. Another one that I wanted to ask, Chair, at the AGM, because you were there and I was there, I think Member Talgo also was there. There were the presentations or the contributions from different provinces that was discussed there, and I think they had the sort of the working groups, and we didn't get that from Western Cape, and I don't think we have the documents of what was discussed there. And I see on this communication they want us to come up with the implementation plan. Is it possible for us to get that report that was discussed there, as they were asking us to contribute to, because we didn't have that with us? Maybe it can help us that we get that, so that, of which I'm going to say I want to go there because there were issues that were raised that I wanted to contribute to, but unfortunately I didn't have the background to that we can prep before we go there so that the contribution from Western Cape can also be acknowledged. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maseko. As a matter of fact, actually, I was sent a report, and I think I did send it to the procedural officer, but I think maybe it might have just been a mishap. What we can do is that at the next meeting I think maybe immediately after the meeting, we can send that report, because it is already ready, of the discussion that took place there, as well as the discussion of the executive committee of APEC. It can be distributed so that at the next meeting of the 16th of the Public Accounts Committee, we can have some deliberation around it in preparation for the 22nd. Now, honorable members, can I have an indication of members?
Member Maseko is willing to go.
I think Honorable Maseko has indicated his availability. Any other member?
Chair, I propose Honorable Bartman, second person.
Okay, so it will be Honorable Bartman as well as Honorable Maseko.
I'm in support, Chair.
Okay, thanks very much. Now, can we then, I think then, if we finish with that, the next item then, procedural officer will be the minutes.
Yes, Chairperson, I just want to pull that up quickly, Chair. I just want to pull that up quickly, Chair. Sorry, I'm just dealing here with two screens quickly. Right, so let's do this, Chair. There we go. Can the members see the minutes, Chair? Can you see it on your side?
Not yet. Yeah, there it comes.
Okay. So Chairperson, is just basically, as per page 1 is the normal protocol, where we have those present, the members that were present and the members that were that tendered an apology, Chair. Can I go to the second page?
Yes. Yeah, next page.
Right, Chairperson, then we basically have just a brief description of the briefing that we had by the Western Cape Cultural Commission, and as well as Provincial Treasury Chairperson. And just to note that the committee engaged both departmental officials on the contents of their briefing, Chair. Then on number 4, the committee adopted the draft minutes, the tracking document, and the quarterly report of the committee. And then chairperson, for matters arising, chairperson, I've listened to the audio again of the matters arising, chairperson, and I try to capture it as accurately but as succinctly as possible, chairperson, because especially with matters arising, chair, it can get in the minutes, it can get rather messy and it can get out of hand, chairperson. So I try to capture the gist of who said what, as short as possible, chair, just to have an idea of the logic that flowed under matters arising, as well as the order how it flowed, chair. I have emailed this minutes to the members, chair. I don't know if there's any inputs from yourself or the committee.
Now let's do that then. Is that members, if you can have a look at that, I'm sure it was also given to you in advance. Is that a true reflection of the minutes, and if there are any corrections you will want to be corrected?
Yes, Chair.
Yes. To support.
Chairperson, before support, can I make a correction?
Yes, Honorable Maseko.
Okay. Chair, the issue of the Matsikama Sidabek, I was just raising it to ask procedural if it's possible for us to attend to the issue. I'm sorry about that. To attend to the issue like that through the scoper. It was not that we have to put it on the matters arising. And coming back to the issue of the matters arising, procedural officer, I don't understand, Chair, maybe you need to help me with the issues of the matters arising. What is the importance of what value does the matters arising have to be here? Because it's sort of, we sort of pick up everything randomly that at the end, when you read the minutes and you go through that, then this one comes from all angles that it doesn't fall within the structure. Minutes of the proceedings of the day. Can we have something that will be structured, that we are not all over the shows? This heading of matters arising gives me a headache a little bit. Maybe if the procedural officer can and assist me, or if the members, they feel I'm wrong in questioning this heading of matters arising, and they're all over topics that we come up with, really, it will assist me to have an understanding, to empower myself.
Look, Honorable Maseko, I will say that normally the matters arising, it's normally a standard procedure of the meetings. But then what is normally happening is that you first have the minutes. They can either be confirmed as correct or incorrect. Where they are incorrect, we correct those, make those corrections. And then once it's agreed that it's a true reflection of what was said, then out of that, you'll have matters arising. There can be matters arising, there can be no matters arising. It should not be something that should. We can also have a shorthand way of taking minutes, but it's only sometimes when there have been some either substantive issue that was discussed in the minutes in the meeting, that maybe minutes can be recorded in details, or failing which, if members disagree about what was said in the meetings, what is nice in these days is that there are even records. These things are actually recorded. So in the end, it might also depend on the people that are actually taking minutes as well. There is HX. Who is HX? or is Honorable Khego's hand is up. Just before I give Honorable Khego, procedural officer, is there an issue that you'd like to raise maybe on the comments that were made by?
Yes, Chair. Basically, from an administrative point of view, Chairperson, if there's interesting comments or interesting matters that have been raised by the members in the meeting, is normally then a standard for us just to incorporate the Chairperson, because sometimes, Chairperson, because Chair, you must remember that these minutes are a reflection of what happened in the meeting, and sometimes in the sometime in the future, the next public accounts committee might request this minutes of this day, because I'm just speaking of experience, Chairperson. There were instances with the 4th and the 5th parliamentary public accounts committees where they actually requested minutes of the previous committee members' minutes, and once we found the minutes, there was sometimes discrepancies of what was said in that meeting and when we actually listened to the recordings. So from the administration side, Chairperson, we try not to put in a lot of he said, she said, but just to capture what each member indicated in the meeting. If there is a matter which is worth noting, which is of interest, Chairperson, but Chairperson, it is up to the committee how the committee would want matters arising to be captured, Chairperson, because I'm at the end of the day, I'm just a scribe and the procedural advisor advising the committee, but the will of the committee at the end of the day is what matters, Chairperson. So if the members want a more shortened version, like for example, Member Maseko basically requested that we then paragraph 1 be removed basically, and then the others just the other paragraph just be shortened, we can do that as well, Chairperson. At the end of the day, Chair, it is the will of the committee, Chairperson, how, especially for this minutes and for matters arising going forward, how the committee wants it to be captured.
Thank you for that explanation, procedural officer. Then members, with that issue that was raised by Member Maseko for paragraph 1, are there any other corrections that you would like to mention? In the absence of that, can we have, are there any proposals for the adoption of the minutes?
I propose that we adopt, Chair, with the removal of that red.
Okay.
No problem.
Seconder? Seconded. That's fine. And then now, having adopted those, now we can maybe then ask then procedurally, also maybe procedural officer, that are there matters arising out of that?
Chairperson, yes, Chairperson, from...
Yes.
Oh, yes, Chairperson, from the minutes, Chairperson, it was basically, Chair, procedural advice on the oversight function of the committee in terms of municipalities in the Western Cape, and then procedural advice in terms of COVID-19 financial allocation and expenditure in the Western Cape, Chairperson. I have prepared procedural advice, Chairperson. I'm not sure if the members want me to highlight it in the meeting or email them that procedural advice, Chair, because unfortunately I cannot flight the procedural advice, Chairperson, in the PDF format in this meeting, unfortunately. I'm having some problems flighting it, Chair.
I think I will indicate, let's first have, are there any comments, maybe, honorable members, on the issue of the oversight on municipalities in the Western Cape?
Chairperson?
Yes, Honorable
I think I will appreciate if maybe Dustin can send it to us, because I'm the one who requested that based on the APEC, because it was one of the issues that they were raising, that how do we interconnect with the MPEC to also play a part in the oversight role. And from our side, we have never really zoomed in working together with the municipalities that I wanted to see the procedural advice. How do we get into that space to form that relationship with MPEC, partnership with the MPEC? Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. Now, then the next one, are there any comments on the other procedural advice that was given?
Chairperson,
I see now, Dustin, you have removed it.
Yes, Chair. I'm just trying to get it, Chair. If you can just indulge me, Chair. Let me just try to open just a Word document, perhaps.
Yeah, the other one, if I've got it on my phone, it was the procedural advice on the oversight function of the committee in terms of COVID-19 financial allocation and expenditure in the Western Cape.
Yes, Chair. I'm just trying to get that one, Chairperson.
Are there any comments on that, honorable members?
Sorry, Chair, can I just flight that one?
Dustin, I have it screened on the minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any comments on that, honorable members?
I didn't hear.
It was it's procedural advice on the oversight function of the committee in terms of COVID-19 financial allocation and expenditure in the Western Cape, and the procedural officer has prepared that advice and it was distributed to members.
Chair, just apology, Chair. It was only sent to you, Chairperson, for your consideration and introduction into the meeting, Chairperson. I have not sent it yet to the members.
Oh, my apologies then. Sorry then, members. Can we then say that it will be sent to members? I've have a look at it, and then for members for their information and also their comments, if there are those that might have comments on it.
Sorry, Chair.
Now,
just while we are on that, before we receive it, does that in the annual reports, my understanding is that every cent that is being used, it will be in the annual reports, and automatically the COVID-19 also will be covered in the annual report. Is it so?
Yes, yes, member, you are correct. Can Chair, just to further address Member Maseko's question, can I maybe flag that procedural advice, because then it will then address what Member Maseko is asking me. Then we can let me just do that quickly, Chair. Chair, I'm just trying. Oh, I don't know why this thing won't allow me to flag this advice. I'm just trying now, Chair. Please indulge me a few minutes. Let me just try again. Okay, Chair, can I just run the members, Chair, because I see that I've got Lizette. I'm just going to email this to you quickly, then you can perhaps just flight it. But basically, Chair, just to answer Member Maseko's question, Chair. Member Maseko is correct, Chairperson. Chairperson, the Public Accounts Committee, Chairperson, our role is basically limited within the standing rules to receive audit reports and any reports of the Auditor General, Chairperson. So, Chairperson, we have asked documentation from the Department of Social Development, Provincial Treasury, and Local Government to there's the advice chairperson.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So basically, chairperson, we have asked under 2.2, we've asked the Departments of Local Government, Social Development and Provincial Treasury for written reports, which they have forwarded to us, chairperson, which the members are in receipt of. If we can just go down, Lizette. Chair, then as I said, under 3.1, we are through Standing Rule 1.101, is to conduct oversight over the financial statements of the Western Cape government. And that, Chair, we do, as Member Maseko correctly said, through the annual reports of the departments, including any audit reports of the Auditor General. So that's perhaps special reports of the Auditor General, then it gets referred to us. And then thirdly, any reports that's referred to us by the House Chairperson. Chairperson, in terms of COVID-19 oversight, it's the ad hoc committee on COVID-19 has been established for the specific purpose. And Chairperson, according to the ATC, which established the COVID ad hoc committee, it says any part of the provincial executive in dealing with this pandemic, Chairperson. So that means, Chairperson, procedurally, even those reports that we've actually requested from those three departments, Chairperson, is actually within the realm of that ad hoc committee, Chairperson. And number 5, Chairperson, it says alternatives, Chair, but this is up to the committee, Chair. I've indicated that we write a letter to the Speaker. If the committee sends the documents to the COVID-19 ad hoc committee, and the committee would like to have a joint sitting, then Standing Rule 102 indicates that we must write to the Speaker to then basically indicate that we are handing it over to that committee, and we then request that committee to have a joint oversight, Chairperson. Or, Chairperson, we can then, secondly, what we've done with the Department of Health in August, we can basically hand it over to the ad hoc committee, and then we can then just request to sit in and engage through that committee, Chairperson, because nothing prevents a member sitting on any committee to ask questions and to engage on the contents of those reports, Chairperson. So that's up to the committee to consider, Chairperson, which direction they would like to go.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member Dustin. Are there any comments from members?
Yes, Chair, I will request that maybe we allow the annual reports and then we'll ask the questions when we get the annual reports in, and not add the more work that we already have of having to go through all the departments and the extra things that were added by COVID-19.
Thank you very much, Honorable Masego, for that. Now, I think, honorable members, that takes us to the end, really, of the matters now arising out of the minutes. Now, just before then we move to the next item, which will be the resolution that we want to take based on some of the discussion we had here. Just an indication to members that, as I indicated at our last meeting, that I will submit my reasons. I have submitted that for the information of the members. Now, the matter now has been finalized. It's for us now to communicate with the member that this is how we've dealt with the issue of Dorenbach, and this is how we have actually finalized it as the committee. Is that clear, members?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah.
Okay. So that when I again now, Honorable America, write a letter, I'm not asked again now, why did I write that letter? And then I must come and explain again now and be cross-questioned about writing the letter.
Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Maseko.
Yeah, I heard that. I developed the third ear that you are sending a message, you are having a whip in your hand. But Chair, when we prepare the letter to the member, also indicate, just to inform the member, our mandate, so that in future we don't get the letters like that have to be handled by us, and we end up in moving out of our parameters of operations.
You see now, Honorable Maseko, that's open for debate. Maybe not for this meeting. Let's leave that for the other time. But safe to say that now the matter has reached its finality, and the person who has actually written to us will also be written to accordingly and be explained the decision of the committee. And I also want to stress to members that as the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Account of the Western Cape Provincial Legislature, I represent this committee. And wherever I go, I represent the provincial government as well as this committee. I know when not to represent the committee and when to represent the committee. So at least now we've put the matter to finality, to rest. And I would like us now, as I said, that to communicate to the member accordingly. I see Honorable America's hand is up.
Chair, thank you, Chair. I agree with you. I just wanted to know whether it would be appropriate for us to have insight into that letter that you're going to write to the member, so that, you know, we can truly say that this letter expresses the view of the committee, and that we don't have a misunderstanding in terms of the plain English word and its meaning in such a letter. Thank you.
Yeah, so it also indicates then there for me, Honorable America, you don't trust my bona fides in representing the interests of this committee. While in the interest of transparency, I don't have a problem in doing that because I've got nothing to hide. Whatever I'll be doing will be for the community, for the committee to know and see, as well as also for the public to see. I don't have a problem in terms of doing that. We are also the chairperson in your other responsibility of a committee, and I'm sure you also know what are the responsibility and roles of the chairperson. But in terms of your request, I don't have a problem in doing that. Honorable Maseko.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think member. I agree with Member America to say we would love to see the contents, and I don't think the intention of him saying that is because of he doesn't trust you as a chairperson. It's just that for now we did something, and I'm saying we as a committee, that we got a tongue lashing a bit from the speaker, that we went out of our mandate, that we are saying that now what we are going to write on this matter, because this is a with report that we got with communication from the speaker, it is the abnormal, it's not the normal situation, and we wouldn't have put you there, Chair, if we didn't trust you that you will lead us. It's just there is an abnormal thing that we committed, all of us, and then we are saying in correction and in finalizing, let's all be part of that. And as you hand over as an individual, you have us behind you to that letter, and then the matter should be closed and we can continue as we were operating before, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maseko. That's noted. Now, are there any resolution, honorable members, that you would like us to take, firstly based on the presentation that was made on broadband? I know one of the issues that was raised by the DG was that they will provide us with a list of names of the schools where that they are actually providing this broadband to. I think that can be one resolution that we do have. That list will be very helpful actually for some of us. Is there any other resolution maybe that members would like to propose?
That's fine.
Honorable America?
No, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm good, Chair.
Okay. So if there is no other resolution, then Honorable Davids.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, there was also one document that the department said that they will forward the committee, and that is the further rollout plans of the broadband project within the Western Cape, Chair.
Excellent. That will be good. That's fine. Thank you very much, honorable members. If there is no further issues or comment, that takes us to the end of the meeting, exactly 12 o'clock on the dot. Thank you very much, members. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.